What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video. And today, Mel Kiper dropped a brand new 2-round mock draft. So you guys know I'm here to review it. Apologies for not uploading yesterday. I'm in the middle of exams, so I appreciate y'all's patience and love. I hope you guys did enjoy the brand new 2-round mock draft that's up. A lot of stuff is actually happening. Guys are requesting trades, so the next mock draft that comes up, we'll be having a lot more new moving parts. I'm excited for that. Let's get right into this. Of course, if you guys do want to join the community, would love to have you guys here. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Let's get up to 10K. That's my goal definitely by the end of the year. But if we get rolling right now, that'd be pretty nice. We just reached 7,500 in this past month. So start off with the number 1 overall pick, Carolina Panthers going Bryce Young. He's now the odds-on favorite. I think it's the correct move for the Panthers. I just have been going CJ based on comfortability with Frank Reich, but at the same time, one's a head coach. So, I mean, I'm not going to necessarily do everything I can to cater to a head coach versus cater to the long-term goals of the franchise, because head coaches come and go, in my opinion, more than franchise quarterbacks. I'd rather get something that I'm more confident in. That's going to be Bryce Young. Next, we have CJ Stroud to the Texans. I saw an article today saying that the Texans might not be in on CJ Stroud. And it's definitely an interesting thing to think about because they tried to offer for number 1, which means they probably have a solidified number 1 QB. Don't know if they see 2 guys as a top 2 pick. That'd be certainly a very unique outcome if they actually trade back. Let's just say Bryce goes number 1, and then maybe the Raiders are excited to move up. Maybe, well, they're not going to do it with the Colts, but let's just say the Raiders are like, you know what, CJ Stroud's available, let's go get him. The Titans, CJ Stroud's available, let's go get him. There is something that you could do there, which, to be fair, they wouldn't go with the Titans because they're in division, but you guys get what I'm saying. However, I think for now, it's the logical thing. Go the quarterback route with CJ Stroud. Of course, if you do want to go after BPA with Will Anderson or trade back and get more picks, Caleb Williams will probably be waiting next year. So I think that would be a pretty cool outcome as well. The Titans then trade up. Do this myself. They get Anthony Richardson. I think that the new regime could be open to getting more of a project, but you kind of already have one there in Malik Willis. I know that Anthony is a much better prospect than Malik in my eyes, and I was a big fan of Malik as well. I just have been on Anthony Richardson train since the beginning. You guys can check out my Twitter. I actually do have a way too early scouting reports that I did, and Anthony was my QB2 starting out the year, and he's my QB2 right now. However, I think if you want a guy who's a day 1 impact, you're going to probably go with Will Levis. But at pick number 4, there's quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, and 4. Makes sense. You know, I'm not really going to disagree with that too much. Of course, Lamar Jackson could be featured in there. If that's the case, let's just say Lamar is traded and the Ravens have the number 4 pick. I have no idea what they do, because are you going to draft Will Levis to replace Lamar Jackson? Like, I don't know if that value is necessarily equivalent, but you know, it's definitely an interesting idea to ponder. The Seahawks then going Jalen Carter. They just brought him in on a top 30 visit, so it is certainly realistic. I'd prefer to go after Will Anderson, but if you can get somebody like a Miles Murphy or another edge rusher that is pretty damn solid at pick number 20, I think that's perfectly fine. And you could, of course, get a defensive tackle, like a nose tackle, like Mozzie Smith, early second. I think that's the best way to go about it, but at the same time, you know, it's not that crazy. Detroit Lions going Will Anderson Jr. I was actually talking about, like, Seahawks could go Miles Murphy, then it would be fine. But if they went after Will Anderson, you could, you know, still get Mozzie Smith early second, late first. But Lions going Will Anderson, that's obviously BPA. That's kind of a dream situation. Raiders going Devon Witherspoon. It makes sense if there's no QBs on the board. Best route probably is to go defensive back or Jalen Carter if he is there. And not going to go back into that again because that opens up a can of worms. Falcons then going Nolan Smith. They're keeping their guys local. I think pass rusher is a very, very solid option. I think Tyree Wilson is maybe the higher ceiling option than Nolan because of the frame. But I have Nolan Smith at number 12 or number 11 on my big board. I can't really complain. Like, you're getting excellent talent. Someone who's one hell of a athlete as well. Homegrown, technically. I mean, he's been there in Georgia. People in, I guess, Athens, which is like, I think, an hour or 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. Like, he's a local guy in terms of the population loves him. So you're still getting a nice culture fit there with the city, as well as a really, really good locker room, dude. I think it's fine, especially with Jeff Okudah signing today, or not signing, but being acquired. I think that's a very, very, very realistic move. Bears going Darnell Wright. I've been saying this for a while. I love the move. I think they should try to trade back. Maybe since, Tyree's still on the board, say, yo, Houston, like, you want to get Darnell? You can, not Darnell, excuse me. You want to get Tyree? And then move back with them, still get Darnell Wright. It's an option. I think it's a good choice. But Darnell Wright is the best right tackle in the class. He's also played left tackle. People are just saying he's a right tackle only. He was worth a late first, early second round pick as of last year as a left tackle. So he moved to right tackle, and he's extremely athletic, an amazing player. I think that, people are heavily underrating Darnell. This is a perfectly realistic move. And especially for an athletic quarterback like Justin Fields, he's going to appreciate the value of a very athletic, high upside tackle. Eagles going Peter Skoronski, and more times I'm seeing this dude get mocked here to the Eagles. I'm just saying it is realistic because the Eagles like to have, security in the long run. But the moves that I've been seeing indicate a win now mode. And that has not really been seen in a very long time for the Eagles. So they've been building up their roster for the future. And right now, the moves are indicating win now. And to win now, you go Bijan. That's just a God honest truth. Maybe it's not the best for what happens in 5 years, but it's the best if you want to win now. And you're bringing back all these veterans. Your team's going to look totally different after next year because probably a lot of dudes are going to retire. So if you really want to win, Peter Skoronski's not going to get you there. Bijan will. But again, I could totally see it happening because it does fit what the Eagles have done in the past. I just think that the Eagles have not been in this position in the more recent past. Then we got Tyree to the Cardinals. Obviously a dream scenario. Texans then going Jackson Smith and Jigba. You pair him up with CJ Stroud. I do that myself. Jets going Broderick Jones. Seems to just make sense. You get an offensive tackle. Patriots going Christian Gonzalez. I think that is a super amazing move. I think that if the Lions do not like Jalen Carter, they could actually trade back with a team that maybe is interested in him and then get someone like Christian Gonzalez since Jeff Okudah is no longer there. But great move to get Bill Belichick, a high ceiling defensive back. Packers going Kincaid. I think that makes sense, but I would rather wait till round 2. I don't think the value of tight end's worth it, and Dalton is my highest graded tight end by a significant margin. So, I mean, yeah, he's really good as a tight end, but it's a tight end. You're not, unless you're the elite of the elite, you're not having a large discrepancy between tight end 10 and tight end 30, the way that you are from tight end 5 or tight end 6 to tight end 1. Like, there's more of a discrepancy there in the usage versus, if you're a solid tight end, you're not going to have the same impact as like what the number 15 overall pick should entail. I think that pick will end up being Myles Murphy when all is said and done, especially after he tested almost identically to Travon Walker. JPJ to the Commanders is an incredible value. So I like that a lot. Steelers going Zay Flowers. You're pretty much replacing Deontay Johnson because Deontay's going to be up for a contract in a year. And I think Zay Flowers is a perfectly fine option for the Steelers. I've been saying it. Wide receiver for the Steelers is not a bad choice. I would prefer Jordan Addison if you could trade back and get him because, again, this league is starting to really be like enjoyable watching these high school or these college connections between quarterback and wide receiver. So, you do have it in your own division. It's worked really well. I think it could work really well since Jordan Addison was the best wide receiver in the country when he had Kenny Pickett. So I think that would be a better choice, especially if you can trade back, get more draft capital. I think that'd be a really cool idea. Lions going Bijan. If he's there, that is amazing value because I don't think David Montgomery is the end-all, be-all. I mean, you guys know me. I'm a Bears and Steelers fan. I'll give you guys a rundown about that if you guys want in the Discord, link below. But Bijan to me is just a superior talent. And if you're in a win now mode, again, getting somebody who could be a workhorse back and open up opportunities for the pass when the defense loads the box, that's the way that you're going to win, especially with Jared Goff. Todd Gurley brought him to the Super Bowl. Bijan could too. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going Paris Johnson. Hard to see him fall this far, but that would be incredible to have Paris Johnson and Tristan Wirfs. Seahawks going Myles Murphy. Literally said it. I swear to God, this is a live reaction. So Yeah, makes sense. Next, we got the Chargers going Jordan Addison. It's another likely move. I think they might go after a safety, but that could be in round number 2. Ravens going Deontay Banks, staying in Maryland. I don't really have many issues with so far what's happened. Vikings going Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, I love Emmanuel Forbes. The talent-wise, again, corner 2 for me. Talent-wise, he's impeccable. But it's just, I can't get my head around a guy who's like 170 or sub 170. It's so tough. He has a great mentality, and he's going to be a great ball hawk, too. Like, if you could somehow move back, maybe early second and get him, I think that'd be great. But it's just tough. It's really tough to say that you'll go like Emmanuel Forbes above guys like Tyreek Stevenson. But there is a significant drop-off. You have that Deontay Banks, Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, JPJ, and there is a noticeable drop-off there. Next, we got Jaguars going Lucas Van Ness. It's exciting to see him fall. Okay, I won't say exciting because I want all the best for Lucas. Get that money, kick some ass. But, I mean, it's weird to see him fall this far. I've had him fall, but that wasn't really by choice. That was because I did a no trades mock draft. It's tough to see him fall this far because there's so much hype on him, and maybe that hype is starting to wear off, and you're starting to get hype fatigue where the hype is just worn off. We're trying to get a more realistic idea of the player, and he was not a super duper freak. He's not a super freak at all. He's super raw. I don't even think he fully started at Iowa for a season, so very tough to see him go this high. Of course, if there's a team that's going to take somebody who's an extreme project, it's probably going to be Jacksonville. But I would rather go after offensive tackle here with, I think Cam Robinson is not necessarily the future option, but I like Anton Harrison. He's also played right tackle. If you want to go interior offensive line, move back. Or you can go boundary DB with Tyreek Stevenson, who's a great fit. So we'll see what they do in round 2. Again, this is a live reaction. DJ Turner goes in the first, huh? I like DJ Turner. Not this high, but I really like DJ Turner. Now, if this were the Ravens, it would make a lot of sense because obviously DJ Turner from Michigan, the DC was from Michigan for the Ravens. I don't know if Wink wants to take DJ this early, but 4.27 speed doesn't lie, and he's extremely talented as a defensive back. So, I mean, I just be a little bit worried about the size, slightly. Don't have too many issues with DJ Turner, but this high, I'm going to think it's a bit of a stretch. Cowboys going Michael Mayer. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's going to be your Jason Witten. So, that recipe worked before. I think it could work again. Bills going Trenton Simpson. I just think that, I love the idea of the position. You could go Trenton Simpson, be perfectly fine. I'd prefer Jack Campbell. That's just me. I like that 6'5" dude who can run extremely well. Cincinnati Bengals going Brian Breezy. I think that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You could, of course, go a tight end here, but I'd rather not get tight end 3 at pick number 28. Another guy, people are talking about Julius Brents this high. I think people are misjudging where he's projected to go. I think he's a late second, early third based on his play. So that's definitely a great move for later on. Brian Breezy, the upside's incredible, and you're potentially disarming the Steelers of a defensive interior, which you can pair up with Larry Ogunjobi, which, my mistake, I was corrected by somebody saying that it was a 1-year deal when I thought it was 3. And then I realized that I should have just stuck to what I knew because it's a 3-year deal. But Brian Breezy still would be an incredible get for an in-division rival. So good job by disarming them and giving yourself a high upside player. Saints going Kalijah. Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think Nathan Shepard or Kalen Saunders are going to necessarily move the needle the way Kalijah could. So it makes sense. The Seahawks have moved into round number 1. Intriguing. So they're going to move up for Hendon Hooker. Now, Hendon Hooker, let's not talk about this Lamar Jackson thing. I know they're just probably referencing the trade up to the end of the first. So, it is what it is. But Hendon's just, I don't like the age, but that's not the big issue for me. It's not the age. Because if you get 5 years of starter quality quarterback, that's worth the number 30 pick. You just got to think about it that way. To me, what you should be worried about is Hendon Hooker's best trait is his athleticism. He ran an offense that made it pretty easy to pass. So I love the rainbow balls, but that's not his primary asset. His primary asset's his legs. And that's what he has an injury to. So we have yet to see him come off that ACL tear. He is older, and I don't fully understand that part. Because you're taking Hendon Hooker if you want someone right now, if he does come back well from that ACL surgery, which I'd prefer to stick with Geno. That's just me. I'd prefer to stick with Geno. But I do understand if they love Hooker, you end up moving to pick 30, and if you get a starter quality quarterback for 4 years after Geno, it's worth it. But I just don't think it is. Chiefs going Will McDonald, Frank Clark role replaced. He kind of is the... So I said Will Anderson's the better version of KT. At the start of the year, I said Will McDonald's 80% of KT. So if you think about that, Will McDonald's like 60% of Will Anderson, which Will Anderson's the number 1 player in the class. So I think that's perfectly fine. I'll scroll down my board so you guys get to see that as well. Next, we got the Steelers going Anton. I love it. He has also played right tackle, so I love the fact that you definitely get to see that he can compete at both sides. So good job for Mel on realizing that one. Of course, Jordan Addison hasn't gone yet, so for me, I'm like, I really wish that you guys probably went after Deontay Banks and then went Anton Harrison here, or Anton, or you could have gone after... Actually, excuse me. Jordan Addison went at 21. So, my mistake. I still wish you would have went Deontay Banks, and then you could have probably gone after Anton Harrison here. I think that would have been better value. But Felix on your DK Uzama to the Texans. He is a high upside player. Man, I just saw his game. Like, I saw a couple more games from the past year, and he was number 10 on my board. He's fallen down significantly. There's just inconsistencies in his game that I don't understand, and maybe that's due to injury. Maybe it's just because he's fatigued from carrying a team on his back, but the down-to-down consistency scares me. It does. But the upside is certainly worth it. So I'm not going to shame this pick at all. Cardinals going Quentin Johnston. I can't see him falling out of the first round at all. But if you do that, that is incredible value. Colts going Brian Branch. So I did this. I got absolutely eaten alive, but that was because I forgot about my boy Nick Cross last year. I just think that you should probably be going for a boundary DB if we're going to go for one, and I don't really trust Branch to be a boundary DB, and I don't think this does either. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily a fan of that one. Rams going Keon White. I think you get someone of comparable value, and Carl Brooks later on, who's, in my opinion, like fairly as effective. Keon is extremely athletic for his size, but I don't really think that matters too much to the Rams. I think that you just want to hit on some very quality players. I don't know if you need to hit the upside. Right now, I think the team's kind of in shambles. You just want to hit someone who's going to be consistent and good. And for me, I don't know if the value's there at 36. I'd go after Jack Campbell here just to be able to have somebody consistent and someone who could lead that defense. Next, we got Jahmyr Gibbs. So the Eagles traded back and got Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, it's interesting. I think that the Eagles could use that extreme big play threat. I just don't know if he truly complements Kenny Gainwell and Rashad Penny well enough. I think that it'll still move the needle. And I talked about this. Like, if you're going to go after a position to move the needle, it'll probably be running back. That's the area of weakness on the offense. So rather than going offensive line, think about, like, I know y'all don't like the idea of Osiris Torrance, but it's the same fucking role, right? You're going to be waiting for a year. You have Jurgens playing that right guard spot. So why not go Bijan and then Osiris Torrance? Like, to me, that would be, if you want that security blanket and you want that bona fide starter, that would be the better value. But if you end off with this, you have two guys who are going to be starting for you for a long time. Speaking of Osiris, I think that the Raiders getting him, not a bad idea in round number 2. You know, O-line's never a bad decision. And you got Devon Witherspoon, Osiris Torrance. That's something to hang your hat on. That's perfectly fine. Panthers going Drew Sanders. I think that is more than fine. You can also use them as a really good blitzer because he used to be an edge rusher. So I like that myself. Pick number 40, the Saints going Darnell. Intriguing. Very intriguing. So Kalijah and Darnell. So both are kind of like the exact opposites. Kalijah's extremely bursty and small. Darnell has crazy wingspan. He's a little bit slower. I mean, his testing speeds are great, but you watch him in his play speed. He has a little bit of a hard time getting up to that top speed. He still gets there, but it takes a little bit of time. So it's two freak athletes, just different styles. I'm not going to be against it because I do think that tight end is a position the Saints could address. So I'm not going to shame it, but it's intriguing. That's all I'll say. So the Cardinals got a second-round pick from Tennessee since they moved up. They got Mozzie Smith. I think that's impeccable. This draft for the Cardinals, it looks like Mel might be a closeted Cardinals fan. We'll see about that. Jets going Luke Musgrave. I do think that this tight end room, I got chewed apart for trying to go after tight end for this team for a while, but I just don't believe in the tight end group either. I will just say, you know, I don't know. This will probably be sent to the Packers anyway. And it probably will be Luke Musgrave if they do that. But I know they went Dalton Kincaid earlier, but still, they would probably change their drafting philosophy. I just don't think this moves the needle for the Jets the way maybe Sidney Brown could. Checking right here, if they'd got Sidney Brown the next pick, I think that replacing LaMarcus Joyner might be a better move. But Joe Tippmann for the Jets, it is a high upside center. I'm not going to complain. Again, it's interior offensive line, so I'll never blame a team for going O-line. You got Georgia staying in Georgia here. We have now 2 picks back-to-back of high upside Georgia defenders. I think that's perfectly fine for the Falcons. They did bring in Jeff Okudah, but I responded to somebody on Twitter who was asking me, hey, does this change their plans? And I said, no. It changes the priority, though. So you don't need to take a top-end DB, but if you have one sitting there for you at 44 that has crazy potential, it doesn't matter. I know this doesn't factor in Jeff Okudah, but it doesn't even matter because, one, Jeff Okudah is going to be coming up for a contract. Corners, especially if they hit, are expensive. Keeley needs time to develop. It's honestly a perfect situation to be able to get someone like Keeley and find his role while not screwing your team over game to game. Byron Young for the Packers is intriguing because he is 250, but he's not strong. I don't really think that, especially at 25, because he is, I think he was a JUCO guy. I don't really think this is the move the Packers would want to make, especially since they have a new regime there. I don't think older prospects really fit exactly what they are going to, hope for. I know maybe they want to make a good first impression with Jordan Love, but I don't think Byron Young is the guy to get you there. Patriots going Matt Bergeron. I've done this myself, but at the same time, I know they brought in Riley Reef. Still think offensive line could be a move for him. Man, I just don't like Matt Bergeron. I keep watching him, and the more I watch him, the worse I like him. That's just true. Commanders going Blake Freeland. That's a big surprise after an awful Senior Bowl to see him coming here, and they did just bring on, I think, Wiley as well. To be fair, BYU players like Brady Christensen, who are consistent, can be moved to inside. I think Blake Freeland's 6'7" or 6'8". There we go. So it's going to be really tough to move him in there, especially since Sam Howell's not the tallest dude in the world. So I don't think this is a good use of the 47th overall pick, but who am I to say? Last year, the Commanders used it on a defensive tackle on Fedarian Mathis, so maybe this was just, kind of a screw-it pick. Lions going Jack Campbell. Maybe it's a closeted Lions as well as Cardinals fan. So we'll see if Mel really does own up to that, because Jack Campbell should not be at this point. Jack Campbell should have been the pick here for the damn Washington Commanders. Hell. Steelers going Julius Brents. They brought him in for a top 30 visit. It makes sense. He could develop from Patrick Peterson. He just can't cover in man for shit. You look at him, and I watched him versus Cam Latu. Cam Latu's a tight end who's not even getting day 2 buzz. Straight up eats him alive on an out route. And I'm just oh, it wasn't even he guessed the wrong route. He just didn't even know it happened. I was oh, that hurt me in my soul, because I was oh, I'm going to bring Julius Brents up. No. Otabawari going number 50. That's a surprise. So maybe a closeted Buccaneers fan as well. We got a couple teams that are getting some very, very good drops, but Otabawari would be excellent value there. Dolphins going Steve Avila. I just don't think that interior offensive line is the primary position I would address. If I'm not mistaken, DeJuan Jones is still on the board too. Probably be the better move to go after an Austin Jackson replacement. So, yeah. He's played every position but left tackle in college, so maybe he could move to right tackle. I don't think if you're moved inside to guard in college, you probably will be not moved to outside in the NFL, but you never know. At least he has experience there. Eagles going Derek Hall. That's a bona fide veteran. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. B.J. Ojolari to the Bears is incredible. I love that. Darnell Wright and B.J. Ojolari. 2 of them, I believe that they're both top 15 players on my board. BJ at number 6, Darnell at number 15. So I think that's great. Brenton Strange to the Chargers. He did not give Zay Flowers in round 1. So RIP to the editor on that one. Did not catch that. Got Jordan Addison round number 1. However, I'm perfectly fine for a trade with the Steelers to be able to give us Jordan Addison. Brenton Strange is not worth the number 54 pick. I watched plenty of Penn State games. I have some people that I know who go to Penn State, so love Penn State there. Actually, it's where I told Zach Charbonnet he should have went in high school, but he didn't listen and went to Michigan, and he ended up at UCLA, did the right thing there. But I just don't think Brenton Strange is worth a day 2 pick. Haven't studied him in depth, to be fair, so I'll admit to that, but definitely did not pop off as a day 2 guy, let alone round 2. Lions going Jalen Hyatt. Ooh, that's weird. That's interesting. I would rather go after an X-build receiver. Of course, they don't really have one on the board. That's my big issue with the class. I think that's why Quentin Johnston might go earlier, and same thing with JSN than like what we expect to be fair, we've kind of brought our expectations up. Maybe before where they should go, because this class just doesn't have those big guys who could be a number 1 receiver. Jalen Hyatt, I just think that's really redundant in terms of speed. It's kind of getting a Mecole Hardman to Tyreek Hill, and that's me giving a lot of props to that receiving core. And I'm not going to make a one-to-one comparison with that, but let's just say I don't think there's a role for him and Jameson Williams. They both are deep threats who are extremely fast. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that. Jaguars going Cam Smith. I think that's perfectly fine. I'd rather go Tyreek Stevenson myself. Giants going John Michael Schmitz. People try to do that in the first. Excellent value. Mingo going this high is a little bit questionable. I know a lot of people love Mingo, and he has some very good reps in there, and he's built extremely well. I think Justin Shorter is pretty much your value version of Jonathan Mingo later on, so keep an eye out for that, because he's 6'4", 230 pounds versus 6'2", 220 with Mingo. But I don't think the Cowboys need to address the wide receiver position anymore. I think there's better positions to target, like a corner. You could look for a longer-term option at linebacker. There's nobody worth it at this point, though. You could look at defensive interior, an edge rusher. Like, there's just better positions in my eyes. I mean, there's right tackle still with DeJuan Jones. So I'm 99% sure DeJuan Jones hasn't gone yet. I must be, slipping up here. But we'll check that out in a second. Josh Downs for the Bills. I think slot receiver for the Bills is a perfectly fine idea. Zach Charbonnet, I don't trust him in the cold. However, he's a great Samaje Perine replacement. Don't know if that's what you want with round 2, but that's okay. Then you got really, I would not expect Mel to be high on Jacqueline Roy. I'm not. That's really intriguing. I think that's a very bad pick in my eyes, so maybe not a closeted Bears fan. I just don't think he's remotely close to that value. He was at the start of the year, but I don't know if Mel is just primarily looking at... I mean, you could have gotten DeJuan Jones here and just said, hey, we're going to continue developing offensive line. We're going to hit on one of these damn guys. That is... I don't like that pick at all. Eagles going Jatavius Martin, the wrong DB out of Illinois, but, it is what it is. Chiefs going Marvin Mims. I think that's a perfectly fine option because he's a big play threat. But that's going to be the video. Ended on a little bit of a sour note. That's the only unfortunate thing is it was actually a really fun draft up until maybe that Brenton Strange pick. But again, I mean, who am I to say? I have made some pretty bad decisions myself. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side.